Tom Hanks' movie Castaway taught me a number of things. 1. I never want to be stranded on an island. 2. Stay persistent and don't lose faith. And 3. I never want to be stranded on an island. Although this is just a movie, there have been real cases where people have been stranded on deserted islands, living there for days, weeks, even years, just waiting to be rescued. Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. I'm your host, Lindsay Ivan, and today I'm bringing you the top 10 people who got stranded on a deserted island. Starting off this countdown, we have the Johnson family. It's hard enough being stuck in quarantine with your family. I can't imagine how it would be stuck on a deserted island with them. In the early 90s, the Johnson family headed out sailing on their family boat. However, the family of 4 encountered some rough waters which resulted in their boat tipping over. Unable to save their small boat, they watched it sink right before their eyes as they bobbed up and down in the freezing cold waters. The family ended up making it to a nearby island and survived there for nearly 40 days. They would collect rain droplets for drinking and caught turtles and fish as their food source. Thankfully, they were rescued by a local fisher who saw them on the island. That's definitely one method of family bonding. Coming in at number 9, we have the canoe trip. Back in August of this year, a mother and her child went on a little canoe trip in northern Saskatchewan, and they certainly weren't prepared for what was going to happen to them. That afternoon, the current was so strong that they were swept away and ended up at an unoccupied island. The wind was so strong that no matter what they did, they couldn't gain control of their canoe. They were stuck on the island for just a day before they were rescued. In our 8th spot, we have HELP. Back in 2016, 3 men were deserted on a remote island near Micronesia after their boat capsized in the South Pacific island. The 3 men originally had plans for a short sailing trip, but the weather became brutal and tipped over their boat. And it was at night when this happened, so they swam 2 miles in the dark until they reached land. From there, they used palm leaves to spell out the word help on the island's sand. Thankfully, the men were only stranded for 3 days before a US Navy plane spotted their fire and then their sign and came to their rescue. In our 7th spot, we have PHILP ASHTON. In June of 1722, fisherman PHILP ASHTON joined a crew who planned to sail the waters of Nova Scotia. But while at sea, the crew was captured by pirates, and PHILP was held as their captive. For 9 months, PHILP was stuck being the pirates' prisoner. But all of that changed in March of 1723. That's when they docked on shore and PHILP made a run for it. The pirates searched for him briefly before giving up and getting back on the boat. PHILP was then left stranded on the island all alone with no tools or food. But he managed to make a little shelter and ate fruit and turtle eggs to survive. 16 months later, a British ship rescued PHILP, and he lived to tell the tale, and even wrote a book about it. Coming in at number 6, we have the Friends. Back in 2012, friends Jesse Brillin and Brian and Dave Martinuke were out boating when the strong winds and rough waters caused their boat to capsize. They managed to pull the inflatable raft from the boat and spent 15 hours drifting hopelessly. Eventually, they drifted close to land, where they were stranded for 10 days. They used driftwood to build a shelter and ate sea urchins, seaweed, and clam beds for food. On the 10th day, a sailboat spotted the trio's pile of garbage on shore before seeing the men and rescuing them. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the SOS. A couple of months ago in August, 3 sailors got stranded on an island after attempting to make a 23 nautical mile journey. However, they ended up getting lost and their boat ran out of fuel. They were stranded on this island for 3 days before being rescued by the Australian and US authorities. During these 3 days, they managed to make a small shelter and a large SOS sign out of debris. On the 3rd day, this sign was spotted by a passing aircraft, and that was the reason why they were found. Moving on at number 4, we have the river monsters. This next man got found by sheer accident. He's actually quite lucky. So in 2016, a fisherman was out sailing when he decided to leave his boat to go to try and find better oysters. But on his journey back, he got sunstroke and couldn't go any further. As a result, he had to spend the night on the beach. The next morning, he tried to travel back some more, but again, the heat and sun were too much for him. By then, his boat was gone and he was stuck on the island. But lucky for him, a TV series called River Monster arrived on the island as they were using it as their filming location. That's when they came across the fisherman, who ran out of the cave to the crew naked, flailing his arms all about. The crew literally saved his life. Now, this man is so lucky because the crew weren't even supposed to film at this island in the first place. They were planning on using a different island, but changed locations last minute due to choppy waters. Little did they know that by doing this would save a man's life. In our third spot, we have Ada Blackjack. In 1921, Ada Blackjack struggled to take care of her son who was suffering from tuberculosis. In order to make more money for her son's treatments, Ada joined a team of explorers as a cook and seamstress. But the journey didn't go as planned. Quickly, they were out of food and had to go hunt to obtain more. Ada was left to care for a crewman, Lorne Knight, who was suffering from scurvy, while the others went to go look for more food. They never returned for Ada or Lorne. From there, she had to learn how to survive. She would trap and kill wild animals for her and Lorne. Sadly, Lorne passed away, but Ada managed to survive for 2 years alone. On August 19th, 1923, Ada was rescued by one of the men that left her there in the first place. Like, the nerve that dude had to come back after all those years. I would have been pissed. Like, yes, I'm here, I'm still alive, thank you for leaving me. In our second spot, we have the Castaways. Now, this story is a bit different than the rest of the ones on the list. In this case, the two wanted to be left on a deserted island. So back in 1980, a British writer put an ad in Time Out magazine saying that he wanted a female to live with him on a deserted island. I don't know about you, but I would be a little sketched out by that ad. But one lady, Lucy Irvine, was intrigued by it. And so the two set out to Toon Island. Now, she was only 24 years old, but the British writer was 49. Now, he didn't plan this through enough, because there wasn't enough fresh water to sustain them and hardly any vegetation on this island. The two survived on the island for about a year when they were saved by some islanders. If it wasn't for them, they wouldn't have survived because they were running out of the necessities. Story goes that Lucy was the one keeping them both alive. But the other dude, on the other hand, had given up faith a number of times. He didn't think they were gonna make it. And in our number one spot, we have Alexander Selkirk. Alexander Selkirk was a Scottish man who is famous for surviving on an island for 4 years. So in October of 1704, Selkirk was a part of a crew sailing around Cape Horn. But the crew started to become very sick. Many were dying of disease and their food supply was diminishing. Plus the food that they did have was all infested with worms. And the ship was in rough shape. So he told the captain they should just abandon the ship and wait for help. The captain was not too fond of this idea. And so Alexander got off the ship and waited around on a deserted island thinking that another ship would be along shortly. Well, shortly was 4 years and 4 months later. All he was left with was some clothing, a musket, some tools, a Bible, and tobacco. To survive, he found fresh water, ate goats and seals and plums, and he even tamed a wild cat to keep him company and to keep the vermin away from him while he slept. And that's all for today's video. Let's move on to our comment shout out portion. I'll be shouting out comments for my video Top 10 Scary Montreal Urban Legends Part 2. Emery Williams commented, "This is why you should always bring holy water everywhere you go. Hey, you never know when a place is haunted." So yeah, whenever you're packing, toothbrush, toothpaste, extra underwear, holy water, Bible, cross. There you go. Sage, don't forget the sage too. Trendsanity commented, "Won't the ghosts be super polite because they're Canadian?" Maybe. Like, "Oh, sorry, didn't mean to scare you." Oh no, sorry. "Oh, sorry, didn't mean to scare you there." That's my Canadian. "Sorry, didn't mean to scare you." Doda Work commented, "Is it just me or is there really heavy breathing in the background?" 737. It's the ghost of the studio. No, I'm just kidding. Producer Chris is just a really heavy breather. No, I'm just kidding, I don't know what it was. I listened to it and there wasn't anything, so maybe you're hearing things. And that's all the comments I'm shouting out for today's video. Make sure to comment something down below for a chance to be featured in my next comment shout out. And as always, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to Most Amazing Top 10 for more amazing videos. I've been your host, Lindsay Ivan, and I'll see you when I see ya.